There was definitely, I mean, it was impossible to drive. There was definitely movement, and the car is a red, like Chevy Bel Air, I think. Kind of almost went out of control, and I had to stop. And some interesting things, I guess my observations are, I know that rocks fell off the mountain and there were slides and all that I learned later, but I don't remember hearing or seeing any of that. You know, my field of realization was not very far because there was enough going on right there to occupy me. I'm Pat Day. I've lived here all my life. I'd borrowed my parents' car and I was going to go down and check my uncle's boat in the boat harbor. And I was headed that way, and you know how a young guy was going to take a little ride out the road first. And it actually saved my life. I got out to where Minishes lived, and the earthquake hit, and I didn't really know what had happened. The cracks in the road opened up and closed up, and I stopped my car and got out, and I couldn't really figure out what was happening. The trees were swaying back and forth, and the road would open up, and then water would get in the hole, and then it would go back together and shoot that water up in the air like a geyser. And so I didn't really know that it was an earthquake. I knew something was happening. And finally it quit. I got turned around, went back to town, and got back to the cement bridge, is the one that's there today. And it was, the middle of it was pushed up, and I wasn't sure it was safe to go across. And somebody come along in a highway pickup and looked at it, and he decided we could go across. And then there were two other bridges before the town proper. They were wood, and they were in dilapidated shape. Also, many of the wood planks were gone, but he helped, and we maneuvered back to my house in Old Town. My parents were definitely glad to see me because they thought that I had gone to the boat harbor. And so my friends and other people who were down there they were never found. Our house was messed up a little bit, and some of the structural, nothing fell down, but some of it was damaged. But at that time we were mostly concerned about the other family members and where they were, and telephones and those kinds of things just didn't work. And they lived all over town. So my parents had a cabin about 4 miles out of town. And we got the family together and we all went out there. Of course, there were some people not there. And we had heard that Doc had a fairly fatal situation, but we weren't sure people were gone. My father and I decided to come back to town and get one of my cousin's cats, or a parakeet, I think, that she'd left. And we were fairly certain that her father was in trouble or gone, but nobody knew for sure at that time. And so we went back into town to her house, which was across from the Eagles Hall in the Old Town, and got the parakeet. And on the way out, that's when the real water action happened there, the tidal wave that kind of came in, and it blew up the oil that had spilt. The power had been turned back on, and it blew that up, so there was a lot of fire, and then that big wave came in, and we were about where the post office was, and we just turned and headed out of town, and we could just see that wave coming in, and it wasn't super high, but it was 10 or 15 feet high, and it had oil drums and cars, all kinds of debris in it. And so we just left town ahead of that, luckily, and took took Oma back her parakeet. And, you know, through the night, we realized we got enough word that that those people, they weren't able to find them. You know, nobody had a conclusion yet, but they weren't able to locate them. I had two uncles, specifically Bob Harrison and Doug Granger, and one of my classmates, Dennis Cunningham, and my basketball coach. So they were all down on the dock, and the coach had his children with him, but there were other people down there, longshoremen, and so by morning we pretty much were getting a word that you know, those people weren't going to be found, and lots of people didn't have the cabin, so they were strewn someplace between Old Town and the pass, sitting in their cars, and there's a lot of stories about people helping each other and so forth. And so that was a terrible night for everybody, but especially for those who didn't know where their loved ones were.
You recognize that kid?
Yeah, he had a lot more hair, didn't he?
What would you tell that kid today if you could talk to him?
Well, I tell him, work hard and something good will happen.